Hey guys, off the top rope here, off the Mike Sports Network. Listen, I've hammered away at AEW a lot, and I'm still pissed off with what transpired at Dynasty, going into the wee hours of the morning, in Philadelphia, like making us stay up 5 hours for that crap. But this was all before I saw the post media scrum because there's a couple things that I need to address here in this. So let me first read you guys what Tony Khan said in the post media scrum after Dynasty in the wee hours of the morning, where he was asked if he ever considers changing plans or calling an audible after negative fan reaction to the Dynasty main event. And he says, quote, absolutely, I take that into consideration. We had a lot of great moments for the fans tonight. Swerve was the more popular man in the house tonight. You had two great AEW world champions having this match, and the return of the Young Bucks spoiled what was a great world championship match on a night where there were a lot of fan favorite moments. That was obviously not necessarily the outcome that a lot of people were hoping for. On the other hand, I do think that Jon Moxley has been from the very beginning of AEW, one of the most important figures from the very first pay-per-view we ever did. It's very interesting now. This creates a lot of intrigue to have the Young Bucks come back. It's important to remember we have not seen the Young Bucks in almost 6 months in AEW. From the very beginning, they've been instrumental in the launch. They are the founding fathers. They are founding fathers. To see them come back this way and get involved and break up what could have been a great moment for the fans that is consistent with the kind of character we've seen from the Young Bucks in recent years, I would say it creates an intriguing situation. Oh boy, so much to digest there. Okay. So, we need to talk about long-term booking because I talk about that a lot here on off the top rope in terms of what they've done with the bloodline in WWE. And some people thought some of the bloodline stuff kind of jumped the shark a little bit. And we're kind of out of that now in terms of Roman's away from the bloodline. Now he's in this Paul Heyman, CM Punk, Seth Rollins storyline. But let me take you guys back to a couple of things. WrestleMania 39. I was there in the building and I was stunned and flabbergasted that Roman Reigns retained over Cody Rhodes. I thought that was the moment to capitalize on it. And they did long-term booking to the point of, okay, you could kind of see the point of making it through. How we got there was weird. And then you get to WrestleMania 40, The Rock in the middle of the build of what they were trying to do, tried to hijack the storyline. The fans didn't like it. And you know what WWE did? They changed and they went back to the initial plan that they had. And it showed the maneuverability and the flexibility of WWE to adjust on the fly and do what the audience wants. There's a difference in doing long-term booking when the story dictates it, like the bloodline did, and that was engaging the audience, even though some people were disinterested. The thing here with the Death Riders is nobody cares. Everybody hates this. And you had a universally beloved person in Swerve Strickland in a spot where it made a lot of sense to just end this storyline, and you had a feasible way to get to your conclusion and just get out of this Death Riders business. You did not need to continue this. And then the convoluted nature that you did it in with the Young Bucks, who the last time we saw them were running away from this thing, running away from this thing. So not only is this long-term booking at its worst, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense. Why are the Young Bucks helping out this situation? Like, you could say, oh, yeah, maybe they planted the seeds of this for the whole time and they let it fester for 6 months. It's like, why are they helping the Death Riders? Why are they costing Swerve Strickland the championship? I get that they've got issues with him, but still, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I get, on some level, I can appreciate that AEW is trying to tell a long-term story, something that they have fundamentally been unable to do. I can't even talk. They've been fundamentally unable to tell a long-term story for a long time. But this has not been good for a while. This has not been good for a long time. And Jon Moxley, who was universally considered a great wrestler and one of the and you even heard me read the quote from him he's right. John Moxley is one of the most important figures in AEW and one of the biggest like reasons why AEW is where it's at. But he is slowly but surely killing this company. He has had 4 consecutive pay-per-view main event clunkers. The full gear match with Orange Cassidy wasn't good. It was overbooked to fuck. The Fatal 4-Way at World's End was not good. We've already talked on this channel about Revolution. And then this overbooked, meandering, long 30-minute match that gets into the wee hours of the morning past midnight Eastern, and you do that, and you still continue this storyline. We could get to All in Texas, and some people will say, yeah, you know what, this is a good idea because hey, whoever beats and it whether it's Osprey or whether it's Darby Allin, I don't think it's gonna be Hangman Page, which is also a mistake because it looks like Hangman and Swerve are probably going to be involved in some tag team thing with the Young Bucks. So that's a whole other separate issue that we've got to talk about at some point. Like they had so many better options to get out of this. Like I said, Christian had the contract. You could have gotten out of it there. You had a Hangman Page right there. You could have had Hangman help Swerve win the championship. You had that in your back pocket, but you bring the Young Bucks back, which makes no sense to the story, all in the name of trying to prove all of your doubters wrong that you could tell a long-term story. Sometimes long-term booking does not work. This is one of those examples of how it doesn't work. And people, AEW tribalists will try to say, well, the Bloodline went on forever. Guys, the Bloodline was actually engaging with what they did. Nothing about this Death Riders thing is good. And this new wrinkle with, Matt and Nick Jackson helping this out is also incredibly stupid. It's just like when you read the quotes like that and you think Tony Khan and Tony Khan thinks he's going to try and outthink the room and try to outsmart the people and try and tell the audience, hey, you know what? This creates an intriguing situation. Your fans, even the diest of diehard sickos, were telling you, get that title off of John Moxley. It is toxic. Literally from this pay-per-view last year when they started to build the Dynasty, remember when they aired the CM Punk footage right around WrestleMania? This is exactly around the time, almost a year to the day, that this company is sinking. And this is, mark this date, April 6th, 2025, I think is one of the turning points of where AEW is going to circle the drain here because it's just, I don't know how in good conscience you could honestly look at yourself and say that was a good decision. That was a good decision. Like, I get it. Trying to stick to your plans and stick to your, but I gave you guys the perfect example. WWE stuck to their plan and it worked with, the Bloodline. Why? Because Roman Reigns is one of the most recognizable figures and, made it work, even if there was barely any of him on television. And you had a believable babyface in Cody Rhodes having to conquer through and, go through his hard times to get to the next point. And then Rock almost comes in and derails the whole thing. And WWE's audience completely shits all over that idea. And WWE made the decision to stick with what they were doing. Okay? You have to be willing to be flexible. And this is one of those examples where long-term booking just does not work. And I really, like I said, on some level, I kind of get it from Tony Khan's perspective, but you had so many people in your court telling you, hey, give Swerve Strickland the title, figure out the rest of it, just get away from this Death Riders. They've had multiple opportunities to do it, and they've been stubborn as shit, and here we are, one of the worst finishes to a pay-per-view, one of the most insulting finishes. It shows, like, you can't honestly look at your audience and say, I actually care about the fans. Fuck that. Even if Will Ospreay wins the title, what is that going to prove? What is that going to prove? We've still got 3 months of this now. That's what you told us, because they're not taking the title off of Moxley until All In. There's no way. There's literally no way that we're going to get to the point of, hey, we're going to get to All In. John Moxley's walking in as a world champion. And there's been people tossing around ideas that, hey, what if John Moxley actually holds onto the title until Wrestle Dream? Because if Darby Allin is the end game, Darby Allin ain't winning the championship at All In, because he's climbing Mount Everest in like a week or so, and that process takes about a couple of months. So even if he's the wild card, there's no way in hell, and there's no hope that he's going to be the wild card. He's not facing Jon Moxley for the world title. So that possibility is still on the table, that we might have to wait 6 months to end this thing. And God help everybody if that's the point. So, like I said, reading that quote, they're so disconnected from reality. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't get it. I do not get it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this edition of Off the Top Rope. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.